welcome you all to yet another engaging and interesting webinar of our Global Mental Wellness webinar series. This was an initiative which was started in May, and we initially thought we'll have one session to begin with, but with the increasing demand and the response that we got from our viewers, we thought we'll extend it to another one. And then from one it became two, and from two it became four, and today we are on the fifth episode of our series. And we have a very, very special guest today, and she actually needs no introduction because she's like a public figure. But nevertheless, we have her here today, and she's Shruti Seth. She's best known for her popular TV shows, which we used to watch a couple of years back, like Shararat, and The Life of Karan and Kabir, and The Forgotten Army, Azadi Ke Liye. She made her film debut in the year 2003 with Waise Bhi Hota Hai Part 2, and later earned praise for her supporting roles in Bollywood blockbusters, Fana and Slumdog Millionaire. Shruti is a celebrated actor, presenter, and an emotional intelligence coach. So we welcome you here, Shruti. If you could have your camera on. So a huge round of applause for Shruti, and I would request all of you to please put on your cameras. It's so great to look at each other while we are physically distant. But thank you so much for coming in and sparing your valuable time. And before I begin, before I give her the stage to talk, I have to compliment her for her, humbleness and how grounded she's been. I used to just follow her, on Instagram because my children loved her show, Karan and Kabir. They swear by that show, especially my younger one, and they're in love with her. I mean, they couldn't believe that, Mama, you're actually talking to Shruti. So I started to follow her on Instagram, and I got so inspired by her, positivity via a social media platform that I thought that, let me just write to her to invite her to our campus, obviously in a virtual mode. And she was kind enough to respond, and she said, I'd love to come and do a session. She's recently done a course on emotional intelligence from Yale, and she'll talk more about that. But other than Shruti, we also have Monica Mehra, who's the Vice President, Blue Medical Services. They are doing a fantastic job on campus with all of us, giving us the best physical and mental support that we all require. I'm also joined by my student coordinator, Shravya Agarwal. She's a fantastic girl and very, very enterprising. We also have many other staff, faculty members, and my lovely students from Shiv Nadar University. We have Professor Akash Sinha, who is an esteemed faculty member, and also joined by Mr. Sunil Shetty, our Director Marketing. So over to you, Shruti. We love to hear from you, and I know our audiences are just waiting to hear from the lady.
Hi everybody, good evening. Firstly, a big thank you to Vinnie.
I request everyone to mute themselves, please. Everyone, please mute yourselves. Thank you. Mr. Gautam, yes, thank you.
So once again, good evening everyone. I'm Shruti Seth, and I would first like to thank Vinnie for reaching out on behalf of Shiv Nadar University and inviting me here to share my experience of self-improvement with all of you. And thank you to all of you for taking time out on a Saturday evening to listen to what I'm going to be peddling. I hope it's interesting. I think I'm going to dive straight in. Firstly, I have to tell everybody that, I've been in rooms filled with 200, 2,000, 20,000 people for the last 20 years. And at this moment, sitting in the comfort of my own home, I have butterflies like I've never had them before. So firstly, I want to say a big thank you, because one tends to feel that as you get better and better at your job and you gain a certain level of confidence, the butterflies tend to leave. So it's so nice to be reacquainted with them again. And it feels just nice to feel this little thrill and, a little tingling sensation saying, oh my God, what if I mess this up? But I'm going to take that chance anyway. So firstly, I think I need to just tell everybody that, true to the self-absorbed nature of being an actor, I thought that I'm an extremely interesting person. But sadly, I had to deal with the harsh truth that I'm not. and nobody wants to study me or my behavior for recreational purposes. So I decided to do it myself. And in the words of Jeet from Jab Bhi Met, मैं अपनी favorite हूँ. So I decided that if someone has to learn about me, it has to be me, and I'm so interesting. So I'm sure I'm going to open up some new world when I get inside and deep dive into my brain. Also, I've spent years, at the receiving end of compliments like, you look so much nicer on TV, or things like, आप ना makeup के बिना ज़्यादा अच्छी दिखती हैं. Yeah, you look so tall on TV, you're quite short. And I used to always wonder, I'm like, how do people process their thoughts? Like, do they even hear themselves before the words come out of their mouth? Do they all want to think aloud? And why are we such an emotionally stunted lot? How can you not know what to say to whom and when not to say something? But we'll come to that later. Basically, what happened was that I got really bored in 2020 when we went into lockdown. And I got very excited to study, or rather learn for the first time without exams being the motivation. So I decided to look up a couple of online courses, which would have never happened given the nature of what I do had we not gone into a lockdown and the fact that everything just shut down and stopped. So in a very strange and twisted manner, I'm kind of grateful to the pandemic because it really gave me an opportunity to explore a brand new path, which would have never happened otherwise. So anyway, coming back to 2020, I was really bored. So I decided to go through whatever online courses were available. And I came across something which was a short online course from Yale called The Science of Wellbeing. And basically, it just sounded trendy and catchy, so I signed on. But what it really did was that it gave me huge insight into the fact that why we can't find eternal happiness. And that is pretty much what we all want, right? You ask anybody, so what do you really want in life? And they're like, I want to be happy. But why do we never get there? Because we're constantly being told that you have to check some boxes. Okay, you'll get that, 7-digit salary, steady job, and then you'll be happy. You'll buy yourself your mansion and then you'll be happy. You'll get the relationship that is truly fulfilling and you'll be happy. And, the grand life, the luxury travel, the cars, the gadgets, the bags, the shoes, the drill. But somehow it doesn't happen. And it's like this dangling carrot. It's basically a consumeristic trap. It's just meant to keep luring you into consuming more and more and more and more. And what the course really taught me is that if you want to find the answer, what you actually have to do is become more curious about yourself. You have to understand your own behavior to see why is happiness such an elusive thing in my life. And obviously, I had to then follow up that course with something more intense. So I signed up for another course in personal counseling at my alma mater, St. Xavier's College, Bombay, along with a course in Buddhist psychology simultaneously, because I'm kind of excessive like that. And I said, if I'm really going to make myself uncomfortable, then I might as well go the whole hog. And I think what really happened was that I grew truly interested in myself the day I became a parent. I have a 7-year-old daughter. And I think I realized that I wanted to, for some strange reason, just see if there was something I could fine tune and become a better version of myself. Because I think once you become a parent, you realize that now you are no longer responsible for just yourself. And you can blame all your misgivings to your parents, saying, "Maa baap ne aise bada kiya, kya kar sakte hain?" And that was another thing that stayed. I was like, oh my God, if I put this kid out there, everyone's going to curse her mom, which is me. So yeah. I realized that I think it was really important for me to start examining my own behavior. And here's the thing, you can tell your kids whatever you want them to do.
That's where self-development began from, right? Yes.
And I think you can tell your kids whatever you want them to do, but what they will eventually do is what they see. So it becomes really incumbent on you to lead by example, and hopefully by a good one. But what actually happened is that I think I wanted to start breaking patterns in my behavior that were sort of passed on to me as, family heirlooms. And I'm sure you all know that, all the things that we dislike about our parents are the things that we tend to mirror most. So of course, I want to give full credit to my parents. They did a remarkable job raising me and my brother, given the resources that they had, and living a slightly harder life than what we do. They were building their lives, so they really did the best they could. But then there were gaps, and I only recognized those gaps when I started going in for therapy, which is something that I highly recommend to everybody, because I feel that we all need to get into the habit of inculcating, strengthening our minds the way we strengthen our bodies. It's so important to constantly keep checking in on your behavior so that you process it as you go along, rather than keep sweeping things under the carpet. And only when I did my course in emotional intelligence is that I realized that you can't run away from your feelings, no matter how hard you try. You can pretend that they don't exist. You can distract yourself from them temporarily. You can power through, which is what currently the entire world is doing given the pandemic. We're all just powering through. We're still going through a phase of trauma. And I'm guessing once we're done, we're all going to need group therapy and, PTSD. So I think what I realized is that I have to start addressing things about my behavior here and now. I need to start examining what is it that I'm doing wrong? How can I change it? And how can I give my daughter a better role model that she can follow? Because I can see the things she mirrors. And so many times I realize in the way she talks that I can hear myself, and I'm like, okay, no. This has to quickly be erased and rewritten. So she is my constant check and balance. I'm constantly checking my behavior, because the moment I see her mirroring it, I'm like, okay, that's not right. And even though I've been doing it for so many years, I want to change it now, and it's really hard, but I want to keep doing it, and I have to keep telling her that this is not right, and I know that mama did it, but it's not nice and you shouldn't follow it. But truly, eventually she will only do what she sees. So even though I keep trying to repair the work,
this reminds me of the popular saying, child is the father of the man,
Absolutely.
So we learn so much from our children, and of course there are real eye openers, a mini reflection of what we are.
And the thing is that I'm so grateful to her for that, because she has really been the impetus in my life for self-improvement. I've done it because of her. And I think I signed up for the emotional intelligence course because once I was done, when I got done with my Buddhist psychology course and the course in personal counseling, I realized that, okay, I want to seriously put my strength behind mental health awareness professionally, not just as a passion project. I want to start pursuing it as a career, because, again, the capitalism trap. If you're not making money off of it, it doesn't make sense, right? So even though it may be a piddly sum, I know that if that is also going to be my driving force, I want to eventually put my strength behind something that's going to have a long-lasting impact. I want to be remembered for something that's actually had a deeper impact. And even if it's, say, a single person's life, if I can change or help someone change even the tiniest little thing in their world, I feel like I'll be remembered better. And again, that's a slightly egotistical way of seeing things, that, okay, I want to be remembered better. But eventually, I feel that each one of us has to start leading the way to building a better world. And we can keep finding faults in everybody, saying, wo aisa kar raha hai, ye aise kar raha hai. What are you doing? How are you changing the world? How are you changing even yourself, or the tiny little world that you have around you, your family, your friends, your work colleagues? What are you doing? So while it's very easy to constantly point fingers at other people, the moment you say, okay, you know what, I can only be responsible for myself, that in itself is also such a big step towards changing the way things have been, and for changing them to be better. And I think what I really would love to do is now start using whatever knowledge I have to push for mental health and emotional intelligence in school curriculum, because I think it's really important to, we teach our kids everything, but we forget to teach them how to live. You know, how to love, how to heal, how to deal with loss, how to deal with pain, how to deal with failure, because that is something our kids just do not know. And given that they have so much at their disposal, and of course, if I were to go back compared to my parents, I had a lot at my disposal. And I feel that I wish someone had taught me how to fail and say that it's okay if you fail. You have to learn how to keep getting up and keep going, and taught me resilience. Because like I said, that, you know, I don't know what's waiting on the other side of this pandemic. Who knows where we'll all end up when it is done. And all this stuff that we are currently just going through and haven't even had a chance to process because we're just currently surviving. We're all going to need to be very resilient and very empathetic if we want a better world. So I'm just trying to stay ahead of the curve, I think. And I think while I can't say so much in such little time about what I've learned, just a few insights that I would like to share with everybody would be that change is hard. It's very uncomfortable. But I think it is it's a very important part of our evolutionary cycle. It's what you're meant to do. And if you truly
accept the change, actually.
And if you truly want to change your life, then all you have to do is learn to change your mind. And I think a concluding quote by Yongye Mingyur Rinpoche, who is a huge Buddhist scholar. I'm going to quote him actually. He says that if you're determined to think of yourself as limited, fearful, vulnerable, or scarred by your past experience, know only that you have chosen to do so. And the opportunity to experience yourself differently is always available.
So lovely. Yeah, really nice. Thank you. So I think that was really nice, and we'd love to hear more from you. And Shavya has some questions, as I mentioned earlier.
Them without questioning, saying, okay, if it's happening, let's just go with the flow. I don't want to swim against the tide. And one thing led to another, and it was just a natural progression from hosting shows to, you know, doing ads to starting to do episodes. I got into full-time acting. I became a channel VVJ. I went on to host television shows like Comedy Circus, Mum Tumar Hum, and of course, a zillion others I've lost track. I became an MC because that was also a natural progression of being a host. So I think most of the things, kind of the path just kept unfolding and I just kept walking. I didn't ever stop to question till very recently. Like I said, that, you know, the promise of eternal happiness doesn't quite hold up. So you keep wondering, ki, I've got the success, I've got the fame, I've got the money, I've got, you know, everything that people would say, "Arey, ye milega to khushi mil jayegi." But you keep saying, no, something's not feeling right. Why am I desiring more? Why do I want more? And at least for me, I think getting past that then started becoming like a competitive sport. And I was like, okay, I have to experience myself differently. While all these things that are there, and I'm eternally grateful for them, and I'm here because of my journey as an actor, I think I remember one day I was just chatting with someone and someone said, oh, so now you're an influencer. And I got a little sick and I was like, okay, I don't like that term. I don't know what I'm influencing, to be honest. And then I realized, okay, so it's a catchphrase now and it's a full-blown career for many. I realized that, okay, what do I really want to do? And like I said, that for me, I said, okay, how am I truly going to make an impact? While there's so many people who send in love and adulation on a daily basis about the shows that they've seen me in and the joy that it has brought to them. And I'm so grateful that I'm a good memory for so many people. I truly wanted to know, you know, this whole concept of ikigai, where you find something that is a skill that you have, that the world needs, that gives you joy, and you can make money off of it, and it can be a purpose. I think that kind of came together in the last year and a half. The moment I decided that, okay, I want to use that, maybe I've come this far as an actor, and I've sort of got this kind of love and fame because I'm meant to use it for something better. I don't know. And that's how I said, okay, how am I going to take this forward? So while I got here, with sheer luck, where I'm sitting right now has actually been some serious hard work, because I think the journey inward is the most difficult. And to keep checking your behavior and saying, okay, how am I going to be better? How can I be better every single day is maybe the hardest thing a person can do. So I really feel that this new journey that I've gotten on is actually something that I am putting a lot of effort into. My Bollywood journey has been fairly smooth sailing and without any trouble. So I think that's how I'd answer both questions for me as an actor and now also as an emotional intelligence coach.
Which life is better, the actor or the previous one? Or, I mean, of course.
I would say simultaneous, because I'm not intending to stop acting. This is just a great thing to do as a parallel career, I would say. And then I feel also in actually, funnily enough, without talking about how I can use the knowledge outside, emotional intelligence really works for me as an actor, because acting is all about feeling. It's all about making people feel without actually being in a situation. So to be able to even do that, one has to become very acutely aware about your emotions, your feelings, your emotional vocabulary, because every emotion is so refined. You know, we tend to club everything together in big groups, but as an actor, when you're reading a scene and you have to show a little irritability, that's a very refined part of being angry. Or annoyance is a very refined, you know, small, tiny version of rage. So understanding that has also helped me in probably, I don't know, I have to still go back to a set because I'm really scared and I haven't gone back to set still. This situation is under control. But I have a feeling it's really going to help me understand my characters better as an actor.
Sure. So over to Shravya. She has a question for you. Shravya, you may unmute yourself.
Hi. So I had a question.
Sure.
In the coming years, since we all know everything is going to be AI based, and how do you think will that make a difference on well-being and also self-improvement?
So here's the thing, you know, this entire debate about artificial intelligence, till we are not able to give consciousness to machines, I think we're good. When we reach that barrier is when we're in trouble.
Right.
But I feel that while AI has its own merits, it still is not in a position to replace human beings when it comes to soft skills, like I said, because it doesn't have consciousness. So yeah, you most definitely have an automated world, but I don't think a machine can understand how a child is behaving in a class.
True.
Yeah, you need a teacher for that.
Exactly.
You cannot replace human touch with a robotic hand. You know, the warmth that you get from another human body is something we can still hold on to, and it's extremely precious that we have it. And I hope that we can hold on to it for very long, because I think one of the biggest crimes of humanity has been convenience. We just want to keep making our lives convenient, so we keep making other things uncomfortable, and we have to learn how to become a little uncomfortable ourselves. Like humans really, really need to do that. We've ruined a planet because we want our comfort. And it can be at the cost of all other species, and that's a very, very selfish way of living.
Absolutely. True. Right.
So, we have a couple of more things. One of our students, she's prepared this. She's not well. She's down with pneumonia. But she messaged me, Rishmita, that it's a rapid fire question round. Okay, we'll break some monotony now here. So what comes to your mind when you hear these words? The first one being 2020.
Oh, neuroplasticity. Because it's the year that I used to change my mind. So, yeah.
The next one, failure.
Extremely important part of growing. It's a big part of growth.
What comes to your mind when you hear about Mother Teresa?
Kindness, empathy, yeah, selflessness, I would say.
Dreams.
Dreams always remind me of sleep.
Yeah, and young entrepreneurs.
Young entrepreneurs, dreamers.
Great. So we have a couple of questions in the chat. We'll take that, and maybe you and Monica could join us in, answering them. The first question asked by Rohit: what are your thoughts about the generation gap?
Is this for okay? I'm already in a different generation. I didn't know this. But I think the generation gap is it's in a way it's kind of nice because it's two different worlds, and it's so nice to see the fact that we're moved by different things at different times. So in a way, while it seems like a gap, I really think it's actually a link. It's not really a gap, it's a link. It connects two worlds together, and there's so much that one world can learn from the other, and that's what it really is, in my opinion.
Great. What about your inputs, Monica? Anything on the generation gap? Though I'm sure even you would say I'm not from the other generation. I'm pretty much yours. Yeah. I used to say, Rohit, we're all your generation. Okay, so there's no gap here. Yeah.
So I have a 26-year-old daughter. So definitely, and
definitely, Monica, you're in the other generation. Even though you may not look like one, but you are definitely in the other category.
But I still feel that this generation gap, what people are talking about, it's all in the mind. It's just that when you, if you want to separate yourself, and our generation, people in our generation, by saying that we have finished our studies and we are working. So this is the other generation, and the other generation is those who have already finished what we have done, finished with their responsibilities. So it's all in the mind. So we are lucky whenever we want to get into this side, we can say that no, we are not your age, and we can come and learn more things. And we can go on the other side also, when we have to teach them something, and we can say we are your parents, and we have to teach you something, and that way. So it's just a matter of mind, how you train yourself and how do you look at yourself. So we can learn computers, we can learn AI, and simultaneously we can understand our parents who are from their generation. So I personally feel we are blessed. I don't know about the coming generation and what they think about us, but I feel that if people in this scenario in past 10 years who all are there, we are blessed.
Great, thank you. Shravya, you have another question to ask before I go to mine? Because I'm getting a lot of questions on my mobile too, Yeah.
I have one question. So how would you link self-improvement with positive psychology and self-determination theory?
Okay, so that's a bit of a big psychology question coming my way, and I'm not a psychologist. I think we should give that question to Monica ma'am, I suppose. Would you like to take the question, ma'am?
Monica, Indu, Pankaj, they're all here. There are in-house SNU counselors. Anybody for that question? I know that's a heavy-duty question.
Indu, I think Indu, Pankaj, you would like to answer this.
And then we have a very Shararti question coming up for you, Shruti. So yeah, just stay tuned. Yes, Indu, can we hear it from you? Shravya, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, sure. So, how is self-improvement linked to positive psychology and self-determination theory?
I hope I'm audible now.
Yes, you are.
Hi. So I think, with the self, of course, with positive, it's a huge orientation, right, of positive psychology, and there's a lot comes into it, right? And again, that there are so many schools of orientation, and I come from a particular orientation of psychoanalytic, which understands mind, which understands health in a different way, right? But I feel that to even if we go towards positive psychology, which perhaps focuses more on the connection of behavior and our belief system, right, and try to understand that how can when one changes, the shift can be present in another, right? So I think that there is so much growth happening in all the fields, and I think in today's world, what the scientists and I think what most of the practitioners also are trying to do is bring all the theories together, right? That is not just positive psychology. Of course, positive psychology has a lot of impact on self-improvement when utilized, but along with other depth orientation as well, right? So like Shruti also shared, right? She touched multiple things today, right? She touched about being in creating a space for feelings, being in touch with what is being evoked in us, what is it that we are carrying from our own experiences in life, and what we also inherit, right? Generationally from our parents, from our grandparents, right? So, and so it is both, right? That it is a depth orientation and also being aware of how it impacts our attitude, how it impacts our belief, and how it impacts our behavior, right? So I think it's this interconnectedness, I think it gets very highlighted. So, yeah. Pankaj, would you like to add anything?
So Pankaj?
You're on mute, Pankaj.
Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Indu said, right? It's just that I think positive psychology is just at a, it's like taking a...
You're on mute again.
You're on mute, Pankaj.
So I'll just sum up for positive psychology. What I personally feel is the moment we realize and we understand that we have a particular problem and we need to solve it, that's the first step towards positivity, and only then we can work on it. And the moment you realize that you're going to be working on it, that's taking another step towards positivity. So these are few small steps, like Shruti said, that she realized when she saw her child that she's doing something and she doesn't want that her daughter to do that. That's something which is going towards positivity. So positivity is very big encouragement towards which brings you to close to therapy, and which brings close to change, which brings close to self-awareness and self-improvement. So the first thing is you have to have a positive mind, only then you can do this. Otherwise, it's very difficult.
True. Great. Yeah. Thank you so much for your inputs, Pankaj, Indu, and Monica.
I'll just add something onto this. Yeah, I mean, since I got muted before, yeah. So I think if it just stays in at a realm of positive psychology, you have to be very careful that it doesn't become a toxic positivity and doesn't addresses the failures or the loss or disappointment or feeling of just shame, anger, or rage, or any kind of sort of negative which we try to keep aside. Other than that, also I think about the self-determination theory. So there's this part also for the question. I think if a self-improvement is just basically about changing the surface appearance, then I don't think that it actually changes anything about the self-determination path, because self-determination path always says that as if there is certain way our self is oriented. So it's rooted in biological basis, like there's certain way our genes are, and then they're going to determine our sort of life choices, how we're going to take. So so that's certainly one aspect of how we see human nature but there's also environment, and as my background is more psychodynamic and more humanistic, Carl Rogers, so it's always about environment, all about relationships, how we relate to each other. So if we have stronger relationship with each other, and then a deeper relationship, then there would be healing, and then there would be a stronger change, a deeper self-improvement. And improvement doesn't even mean that it has to be like the chart is going upwards. Like Carl Jung would say that we would go into the depths of our soul, where this underground world, where this we meet, and that's also improvement, because that's how we grow, that's how we more embody ourselves as a person. So yeah, that's just my few thoughts on this question.
Thank you, Pankaj. Thank you. So we have one question from. We have one question. It says, Shruti, what your memories of Shararat? It was my favorite by Syed. Yeah.
Well, it's my favorite too, and I find it a little strange to say memories, because it's still a very big and active part of my life. It's on Hotstar and people are watching it, and I'm in fact watching it with my daughter again, so it's great fun because she thinks I'm a witch, and I'm planning to keep it that way for a while. And I think I would just say that so far it's been my grandest legacy, and I'm so grateful that it is, because in times like this, when you hear people tell you that they watch the show because it made them feel good, it's extremely self-affirming, because you realize that that's what emotional intelligence is. It's about making people feel good, and I hope that I can extend that into my real life, from my real life, and actually work towards becoming a person that makes other people feel good. So that's pretty much how I'll keep the memory of Shararat alive.
That's so nice. Thank you so much. The next question comes from Sia. Good evening, everyone. I have a question for Shruti ma'am. Do you think the pandemic has benefited the conversation surrounding mental health in India by making resources like therapy more accessible? And how do you see this movement take place? Additionally, 2020 has been truly challenging for all of us. What piece of advice would you give to students that you've learned from this time? And she also thanks you for your time.
Really sweet. Thank you, Sia. And yes, 100%. I think mental health awareness has started to take a certain importance in our conversations. We're still way back, and it needs a lot more momentum. And I think it's really important for, number one, for us to take away the shame from it, because while everyone keeps saying, I truly believe that mental health is the same as physical health. How can you take care of your body and not want to take care of your mind? It's very elementary. But because we have this Western paradigm of therapy is for mad people or for someone who's mentally imbalanced, all of us have moments of being emotionally hijacked. All of us have a lot of things that we haven't processed from our past that keeps, sort of cropping up every now and then. And it gets in the way of your normal functioning. When you're not able to manage your emotions, or you take things too personally, or you're constantly catastrophizing and just imagining worst case scenarios, these are all parts of not being mentally sound, for the lack of a better term. But that doesn't mean we're mad, we're just human. And how is it that we are so quick to fix any physical disability that we may have, but we refuse to do the same thing for our mind, because we feel, arey, main pagal thodi na hu. But therapy is not for mad people. Therapy is like going to the gym with a personal trainer. And obviously, the fact that we're in a mental health awareness conversation right now, we all know that when you're feeling, we all go through the same cycles of grief, of loss, of pain, of happiness, of sadness, despair. This happens to all of us, the best of us. As long as you have someone who can help you understand what you're going through professionally, because here's the problem. While your friends can of course do that for you because they love you and they care for you, and your parents can do that, our culture is such that we keep telling people to disregard, saying, "Itna emotional mat ho. Don't be so emotional. Don't get so taken in by what's happening. Ignore this, ignore that." a professional will tell you what your feelings are trying to tell you. They're trying to give you some sort of message about a situation that is not right. And that needs to be addressed. Until you don't address it, it's going to keep knocking and hammering on your door till one day it breaks down that door. And then you're in serious trouble, because that's when you will find yourself feeling slightly unhinged. And again, don't we all want to be better? Why are we limiting ourselves? We're not set in stone, and if there is a way of being better, why not try it? Why should we limit ourselves saying, bas, main itna hi ho sakti hu, I can just be this much. And main to aisi hu. This is a conversation that we have with our parents. My mother is like that at the age of 70, saying, sorry, now I'm like this. And I realize this now, that when I was younger and I was in college, my mother had a huge problem with mild paranoia. And now I'm using the word paranoia in a way that she would get scared if we went out in the night. So while all my friends went out to party, I couldn't go because my mother was terrified of the night. And again, for her emotions were jumbled into one big thing, terror. And I was like, Mom, terror is a really big word. You're slightly apprehensive about me going out. It's different from being terrorized by the night. But because she did not have the ability to understand how she felt, and she said, this is how I am, and now everyone will have to adapt to me, I felt cheated during my younger years, saying, I'm never going to have that time back again. But I had to settle back and not do things because they made my mother uncomfortable. Whereas if things make you uncomfortable, it's your job to fix it. You can't ask the world to fix themselves around you. So I'm just going to tell you a little something that I learned in my Buddhist course, where somebody asked that, the world is full of suffering. How am I going to get past it? And this Buddhist monk said that while you can't put a layer on the world, what you can do is just wear slippers. So if you can protect yourself, that in itself is a big thing. We can't, I don't know what each person's journey is. So there is a fair chance they're not going to understand how to manage me or understand where I'm coming from. I can only be aware of my own journey. And that can only happen if we start addressing mental health as a necessary part of a holistic way of being. So while all of us can keep talking about it, and I really feel that to a very large degree, social media has helped open up that conversation. And given that I come from a business where mental health is extremely fragile, because we deal with things that are unprecedented. And I'm not saying that other people don't go through the same pressure, but as an actor, whether it's fame, whether it's being in the public eye, whether it's unprecedented fame, unexpected, absolute disasters, you're going through such upheavals that you have to build a certain level of mental fortitude to go through your business. And my life is changing on a daily basis. On a daily basis, I'm plagued with so much insecurity as an actor that if I don't understand the nature of my business, I'll be crumbling. I'll constantly be a pool of tears. So if for nothing else, I would love to start the conversation for people in my industry. But it is incumbent on everybody to keep pushing the conversation of mental health, because that's the only way we'll take away the stigma from it and make it into something that is, schools have started introducing yoga at age, class 1. Why can't we introduce counseling at class 2? I'm constantly checking into my daughter's state of mind. I'm always asking her, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? How are you feeling? And it's great because while I will traumatize her being her parent, because that's what parents are supposed to do, and I also have my own trauma that I keep trying to get rid of, but it's there. I think if we start pushing the conversation even on our dining tables, where we make the effort to just ask our near and dear ones, how are you feeling? And we become more aware of that, I feel that will really change the way we view mental health. So that's my rather large 2 bits.
That's lovely. So I think we have been joined by Gopal sir here. Gopal sir, if that's you, can we hear a hello from you, please? A couple of words for our students and faculty who are hearing us out. If you are here, can you unmute yourself? I think I can see you on the guest list.
If hello is all you want, here is the hello.
No, Good evening, sir. So we welcome Colonel Gopal Karunakaran, who is our Executive Director at the Shiv Nadar University. He's also the CEO of Shiv Nadar Schools. So very warm welcome, sir. And I know it's your playtime in the evening, but it's a real pleasure seeing you here. And we want to hear a couple of words from you, not just a hello. Hello was a tease to get you into the chat.
Okay, can you see me?
Yes, we can see
Yes.
you. So today we have Shruti Seth here, so she's of course joined us from Mumbai, and of course renowned actor and now a coach, emotional catalyst, and a coach in emotional intelligence. So we had a very nice, fun session with her, and we have a lot of questions in the chat box for her. And I know it will probably take a couple of more minutes to finish the session, but since you're here, and we love to hear you like always. So your thoughts, please.
Okay, firstly, welcome Shruti to the Shiv Nadar University and the foundation and the conversation. And I can see that Indu and Pankaj are also here, who are the people I see on the screen, along with Vinnie and Shabya and Monica. So I don't see other people on my phone screen. So welcome to you. And Shruti, I must confess that I don't know much about you. So while Vinnie did tell me, I'm fairly a dinosaur when it comes to the age difference with everyone who's here and all of you. So I don't watch TV shows whatsoever. So I have been here, Vinnie, for the last 20-25 minutes since you messaged me, and I was in, so I was listening quite a bit. And so I was in between thinking about this extremely important area for all of us. I was also Googling Shruti to see who she was. And I realized that I did watch Slumdog Millionaire, so I must have definitely seen you. So I recognize the face now. But I don't watch TV serials at all, and I apologize for not knowing you. I should. But you have a very interesting write-up on Wiki, and it's very interesting to hear you for the last half an hour or so about that much time. So all I'll say is that I think for all those who are here, the young, through the journey of everybody's life, we have all gone through many of these ups and downs. And I was 5 when I had smallpox and I nearly died. I spent a year in hospital. So my living memory is of being a survivor. The other big experience of my life was when I was 30, when I was at 21,500 at the highest post in the world, where the temperature is minus 50. I was dug inside the snow for 33 days of my life, which is in Siachen Glacier. So my life has generally been defined around these two things, and my positive psychology, if I can use the same phrase, which I'm very fond of, by the way, because I know that the Harvard professor who does this course, by the way, for all of us who are deeply into psychology, you start spoofing this type of positive psychology stuff, and you say, oh, it's not very deep. But it's the most popular course at Harvard. So it's very interesting, and when you read it about that course, you realize this is all normal stuff which our parents tell you and our friends tell you. But just remember, we have got some of the brightest minds in the world who go to Harvard, and it's still the most popular course at Harvard. And you must Google about it. So I think what my life has taught me, one, I've been an amateur psychology student for all my life. I've loved the subject. I've never studied it formally, but I think there is so much to learn as every decade goes by. I love a book called I'm Okay, You're Okay. I read it when I was 20. I've read it every decade, and it gives me different perspectives even now. The simple parent-adult-child syndrome and how you interact with each other. And nearly every single time in your life, you will realize that sometimes you are the parent to your child, and you think that's the right relationship. Very often it isn't. It should be an adult conversation nearly 95% of the time with every human being, whether it's a child or whether it's your own parent, whichever way it is. There is the only child which is good is the playful child, not the obstinate child or not the angry child. But so there is huge benefit from understanding. But I think fundamentally what I believe in health is the same. Physical health is the same I believe in mental health. That a lot of attention should be spent towards preventive health on both sides. It's not about addressing a problem, it's about not getting to the problem. So a lot of physical health revolves around being healthy and having a healthy lifestyle. And I think a lot of mental health also revolves around what is a healthy mental lifestyle. And I think those things, for example, the mind-body connection is a huge thing. The fact that today college kids, and if many of you are here, there is nothing more damaging than sleeping till staying awake till 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock and getting up, not having breakfast and running to class. You can do any amount of counseling and meet your counselors when you haven't done this simple bit of getting exercise, because exercise translates directly towards your mental health. If you don't exercise, and there's enough chemistry and biology to support that, right? So if you don't do physical exercise, you're not going to be in mental health condition. So that's one direct thing about, and anyway, I can go on and on. I just thought, since there are students here, I'll talk about this. So a lot of it should be spent on, things like gratitude. How do you develop gratitude? If you don't start working on it, even with a 3-year-old, and gratitude, children pick up when they see gratitude around them. When you demonstrate gratitude, you will see it. How do you demonstrate humility? I mean, how do you teach that? You can only teach that by demonstrating it yourself. When you do that, that's what it is. For example, we have a country, I'm sorry to say, I'm not being political, but if there's hatred all around, and that is what the young see, and you segmentize populations around hatred, and you segmentize countries around hatred, and if there's hatred everywhere, that's what everyone sees, that's what you learn. Then you can't get better mental health, because leaders have to show humility, joy, humor, ability to deal with stupidity that they created themselves and say, I'm sorry. Indians don't say sorry. So if you don't say sorry, you're not teaching children the right thing. And if you don't say that I goofed up as part of your culture, as part of the fact that when you goof up, you say you goof up. So that's all part of mental health. I will stop there.
So now that we've got you, sir, here on the webinar with us, we have a rapid fire round for you.
What
comes to your mind? Shruti's done one round. One quick one for you. What comes to your mind when you hear these words? Planet B.
Planet B. Planet B.
Yes.
So I'll probably keep saying 0, 0, 0. So I won't know much. I don't know anything about Planet B.
Okay. Indian Army.
Indian Army is about courage, mental and physical.
Education.
Education is everything which happens outside the classroom.
Yes, absolutely. Work-life balance.
I would like to add a point here, sir. Education, my economics teacher told me once, education is what is left after you have forgotten everything. I still remember.
I think Einstein or someone said it. Anyway, Edison or someone. Anyway. Work-life balance. Work-life balance, by the way, is very relevant to the conversation we are having. I hate the phrase. I hate the phrase simply because the phrase is wrong. It's not work-life balance. The phrase is work-leisure balance. Do not separate your life from your work. Your work is your life. You must get the greatest joy from work. That's how to live a life. If you think work is this horrible thing which I do so that I get a thank God it's Friday and a Saturday and Sunday, that's not work. Work you must love and it must be part of your life. So it's a wrong phrase. Just like social distancing is a wrong phrase. Somebody started it and the whole world used it. The phrase is physical distancing. You don't need to socially distance from each other because of a pandemic. You can physically distance,
And Shruti, the next one's for you. What comes to your mind when you hear Mumbai?
Flood.
Well, right now it's the monsoon, and but honestly, it's the city of my birth. So for me, it's home. That's all it is. I've lived here my whole life, so it's my home.
So the next one for you. What comes to your mind when you hear the word art?
So, I know it's rapid fire, I'm supposed to answer this quickly, but I think art, music, theatre, sport, this is what makes us truly human. Right? That's where the humanness comes out. So it's incredibly important in our lives. It should be very important.
And the last one for both of you is the word India.
I'd stay home again. It's all I know. That's who I am. So yeah, it's home.
It's a lot more than what this government thinks it is.
I'm sure. But so nice to have you here, sir. Thank you so much for your inputs. It was such a pleasure hearing you, and I'm sure our students, faculty, staff, parents, grandparents, and people from the Shiv Nadar Foundation who've joined us here would be more than happy to engage themselves in our session today. And we have a couple of more questions today. It's from Hilor, and she says, good evening. Regarding the awareness of mental health, we still find a lot of parents saying there is nothing like depression and stuff like that, which prevents a lot of children from talking to some counselors and taking care of their mental health. How do you think we can tell them the importance of mental health? So like you said, it's a stigma, nobody wants to accept it. So how do we actually convince
I think this might be an interesting way. I'm no maverick when it comes to school curriculum, but I think for parents, if you link anything to grades, tell them if your kids attend X number of counseling sessions, we will give them a grade. I think they'll be happy to send their kids in for counseling. You have to start giving them a reward for being mentally sound and promoting mental health with their kids. So the only way you can do that is if you keep telling them, अगर आपका बच्चा महीने में 4 बार काउंसलर के पास आएगा, तो हम उसको एक grade देंगे. The parents will be very happy to push their kids towards going to counselors. And it's the nature of parents to, none of us want to accept, and it's a very sad thing, but it's true. None of us want to accept that we have human failings, right? We all want to believe that my child is the best and I've done everything. Why should she feel sad? Why should she feel bad? Why should she feel depressed? मैंने तो सब कुछ दिया है, हम तो सब कुछ कर रहे हैं. Because we don't want to accept that there are some things that are beyond your control as a person. And you're not the only influence your child has over them. They're hanging around with a peer group, they have school, they have sports. There's so many different things that they're being exposed to. And I'm sure everyone doesn't have the time to tune in and say, Acha, are you okay? So the reason why you want to put a counselor at that job is because number one, they are professionally trained to pick up on signs. They know the right questions to ask, which a parent may or may not be able to do. With all the best intention, they're not equipped to do it because all of us have our own limitations as people. And the fact that there is an entire university with children who are learning psychology, they obviously know a little more than I know or the next person knows. So you have to trust their knowledge. It's like saying, I will self-medicate, but you won't, right? You will go to a doctor. So if you are willing to go to a doctor for your physical health, then what is the shame in going to a counselor, a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist for your mental health?
Very true. Thank you. We have another question from Simran. She says, good evening. You mentioned that if your daughter mirrors your behavior, you try to erase it. Ma'am, how do you work on it? I believe that children mirror behaviors that they see while growing up. Also, some genetic factors are involved. My question is that what do you believe in, correcting the behavior or completely trying to erase it?
So I don't think that one can erase anything. I can't erase my daughter's memory. It's not possible. But what I can do is that when I do see myself slipping into old patterns and I see that it impacts her a certain way, I'm always quick to step in and apologize when I have done something that is hurtful. I'm quick to tell her that what I'm doing is because I've had a certain kind of upbringing, a certain kind of life experience, and there is a better way to do the same thing. And the good thing is that I've kind of told her that when I do things that are wrong and they hurt you, you must bring it to my awareness. So while I do regret it sometimes, because sometimes I'm just constantly getting daily feedback on my parenting skills from my daughter, but I think the ability to put your ego to rest, because that's what stands in the way of all change, is your ego. It does not want to believe that you have imperfect. I want to believe that we're imperfect. I want to believe that I'm flawed. Here I am, Gyan to everybody. But I need someone to constantly tell me, okay, that was not nice, and you could have said it better. And whenever I'm told that, I'm always quick to tell my daughter that I'm sorry, and I would like to change my behavior. So that is pretty much all I can do as a parent.
Gopal sir, there's a question for you. Yes. So what is your hope for the future of the pandemic? When is it going to end? This is from a student who's just sent me a WhatsApp. And what do you see when you look at the younger generation? How do we cope up with it? Any message or advice?
That's a lot to ask. I don't think anyone knows the answer to that. But obviously, as I said, I'm eternally optimistic, and I think I'm no virologist, and Dr. Guleria has made a statement today about the third wave, so we really don't know. But there are enough indications that because of the vaccination and because of the fact that the third wave may not be as severe as the second, I'm guessing by next year we will all be back in the university and back in schools.
That was the next question.
And we'll probably live with it in its own way as another sort of something that people can have. I think that's where it stands. There is enough indication that will continue for a while, like pneumonia and a lot of other things which will happen. So I'm guessing that's where it looks like. But honestly, the answer is I don't know. We really don't know.
Thank you, sir. Thank you anyways for your inputs. There's a question for Priya.
1 minute, Vinnie. I would rather say that the people who are asking about third wave, I would like to ask them a question. Are you, doing what the right thing is? Pandemic, if we all do that, if we ask this question, if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm having COVID behavior, then it's me who can avoid the third wave. We all have to do that. If we don't do that, we don't get that, then third wave is going to come. So we have to look into ourselves rather than asking others.
Thank you, Monica. I guess we definitely need to follow the COVID appropriate behavior. So wear your masks on, everyone. Maintain the physical distancing and refrain. And like Shruti and I were discussing before the session started, it's time to be a little bit more resilient for a couple of more months until we all get back with a bang and we all get vaccinated. So there's in the chat box something from Ria. She says, "Hello Shruti ma'am, I'm a huge fan of yours and I have a question to ask too. I'd like to know from you about how you deal with situations that aren't going according to your wish or convenience." And there's one more. She says, "Hi Shruti, first of all, I love you." So she loves you. And what was the defining moment in your life where it clicked for you that I need to be courageous enough to heal myself? I can't be afraid of changing for my own betterment, because we tend to get scared of improving when we find comfort in the way we've always lived.
Absolutely. Firstly, I want to say a big thank you for all the love. It's what makes the world go round. So thank you for that. And I think a big part of dealing with disappointment and discouragement, or whatever one may call it, I think it's a big part of being an adult. It's how life is, and I can be very angry and I can be very upset about it being unjust and unfair to me, and I can keep battling that for the rest of my life, or I can take that anger and I can turn it into something constructive and keep trying to do better, try and improvise, try and adapt, and accept the things that I cannot change. And as cliched as it sounds, that is pretty much all we can do. We can all be very angry about the pandemic, but it does not mean it's going to go away. It's still going to stay here. People are still going to get sick. So all you can do, and like everybody said, is that you do the best you can, and then you hope that things will fall into place or they'll get into some sort of pattern. And the most beautiful thing about being human is there's a reason why we're at the top of the food chain, because nobody can adapt to change as quickly as human beings can. It's what has kept us here. It has kept us resilient. It has kept us here beyond so many things that the planet has been through, and we're still here. We are the only species that has still not gone extinct. So it says something about us. We know how to adapt to change. So that's what you really need to do. As for what gave me the courage, I have to say that motherhood has some strange magic in it. It makes women into tigresses. It really makes you want, like, I think I remember a friend of mine telling me that if it were up to the mothers, they would set the world on fire. And that's what mothers do. They're so protective of their little cubs, and you want to build a better world for your children. And I realized that maybe somewhere along the way, when we were talking about convenience, which is the enemy of most things on the planet, is human convenience. You realize that now I'm ready to get uncomfortable because I want to build a better world for my child. I want to give her a better future, whatever I can make of the given situation. So yeah, I think my daughter gives me courage every single day.
Okay, great. I hope that answers your question, Shreya and Riya. And if there's anyone else who wants to ask the question, please unmute yourself and go ahead. Riya has a small request, Shruti. She says, ma'am, if you could just say a hi to me, I'll be so grateful and happy. But Riya, you have to come switch on your camera for that. Yes. So Shravya, you have another question, I believe.
Hi.
Sorry, I can't see.
I have a question for Shruti, if I can. Sorry.
That's Manu. She's a parent of Shiv Nadar School. So we welcome you here, Manu. So great to have you.
Hi. Quickly, can I just say hi to Riya? I can't see her, but hi, Riya. Stay safe, stay happy, and thank you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm really glad you actually took my request and said a hi to me. I'm so glad you made my day. You too, keep safe and your daughter safe. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Sorry, I got dropped. I think it is.
Yes, Manu, please go ahead.
I think Manu's frozen, at least on my screen she is.
Same here. In the meantime, Shravya, I believe you have a question, so just pop it up.
Okay, so what are some of the things one should keep in mind when you're in a process of self-growth? Like, what are some values or some of you things that you should have with yourself, or you should keep in mind that it's okay, you should not, it's fine if you'll go through all this, but just have patience or something like that. I'm sure that must be things like that.
So firstly, I think, I don't want to make self-improvement sound like something only few people do. It's not just reserved for those who choose to do it. It's available to everybody. And even in the natural order of things, whether we like it or not, we're going to keep evolving. It's how we're built, right? It's our cycle. So all you want to do is just be mindful that it's happening positively rather than negatively. If you are able, we all know the things that hold us back. We know the things that get in the way of our functioning, that keep us in endless loops of conflict with people. It's just about becoming more aware and being curious about yourself. I'm extremely curious about what is my human experience. I think most of us from childhood are just taught कि अच्छा बेटा पढ़ लो, job ले लो, पैसे बना लो, future बना लो, शादी कर लो, बच्चे कर लो, फिर उनका future बना लो. I feel that the fact that you are given the opportunity to be here as a human and this comes from my Buddhist psychology, is that it's meant to be a big gift that you have been given and granted.
Right.
And the concept of the human experience has to go beyond paying bills. That's not all you're meant to do.
True.
So what are you here for? And the fact that you are pliable and malleable as a person, and keep saying, okay, it's, it also comes from, I started doing yoga when I was around 25, 26. And I remember my yoga teacher telling me that in my first class, she told me that yoga is basically about becoming new every day. Every time I get on the mat, I do a pose a little differently than I did yesterday. So I become a new person. And that's pretty much what self-improvement is. You're just becoming a new person every day. And my husband and I actually have a lot of fights because he's constantly telling me, you're always changing your mind. You're always changing your mind. I'm like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to keep changing your mind. That's what makes us, the things that I believed in when I was 20 are so different from how I view them today, is because I have changed my mind.
You tend to change I see myself as a person, and I see that I keep evolving every month, every week. Every week is too much, but like every month I see myself evolving, and it's a lot to take in. But when you sit down and when you reflect on all these things and factors, it's something very eye-opening. I don't feel like that.
So I think, one more thing that kind of touched me when I was much younger. I remember my favorite film is The Matrix, and there are two dialogues in that film that I have carried with me through my life till today. One is to free your mind, and the other is to let it go. That's what it's supposed to do. You have to let things go.
Let it go, exactly.
Absolutely. I think those are the two takeaways from today's session. Free your mind and let it go.
And when you realize that, most of the things that we see are also colored by our perception, and they're not how they are. It's how you're seeing them. So every time that you are able to see something by disconnecting yourself from it, saying, did she really talk to me badly, or did I just imagine it? And when you can actually sit with yourself and think about it, you'll realize that things aren't so personal. And it's
very objective, and it's very objective, and it's very, it's about perspectives. An individual's perspective. And I think what we require is we really need to accept that. And it's really harsh, but that's how a free and an open discussion can be initiated.
Yes.
That's what my views are.
Great, thank you for your question.
Just break up with your ego. It's not a good love affair. Just learn how to break up with it and see how well you will flourish.
Absolutely.
Before we actually go on with the next question, we like a little exercise from your side, Shruti. The one that I was talking about, I saw on your Instagram as a story or a post, a grounding exercise where you were just doing something, and it was really appealing. So can we do that with the audience? I'm sure everybody's been sitting here for 1.5 hours now. So if possible,
Yeah, sure. So actually it's a grounding exercise to deal with stress and anxiety, or whenever you're sitting down to, sort of start concentrating into a task. We know that the mind is a monkey and it's always jumping and doing stuff. So a quick way to just sort of collect yourself, it's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique. So whenever you're sitting down to concentrate or get focused, or if you're going through a slightly stressful, anxiety-driven situation, a good thing to do is look at 5 things that you can feel, that are around you. Whether it's, the floor under your feet, or it's basically name 5 things that you can see. So it's instantly making you aware of your surroundings. It has to be 4 things that you can feel. So it could be the seat of your chair, could be the floor that your feet are touching, your own hair, your skin, and instantly you become aware of your own body. Then you have to think of 3 things that you can hear, that you can listen. So it could be the sound of the fan, it could be the sound of someone talking to you, maybe someone in a distant room doing something, but just becoming acutely aware of three things that you can hear. And it has to be 2 things that you can smell. So it could be the smell of your own skin, or maybe a pillow or something that's around you. And lastly, the ability to be able to think of something positive about yourself. The whole idea is about becoming acutely aware of yourself and your surroundings, and that really helps to bring the mind back home.
Sure.
So I tend to do that a lot with my daughter, because she's just a distracted mind throughout. So while we're doing something, she's thinking of something else. So I have to keep trying to tell her, here, now, this. The whole idea of becoming mindful is being present right here. So that's a technique that you can try. It's called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rounding technique. It's actually on my Instagram page. If you follow me, I'm Shruti, and you will see it there. It's a really fun thing to do, and it's also very helpful for anyone who is prone to getting anxious, which I do a lot. I get anxious a lot, so it really helps me calm myself.
Great, thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
And I think we have 2 raised hands, and one is by Neha. Neha, if you could unmute yourself.
Hello. Hi, Shruti. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vinnie, for such a lovely session. And I'm happy that you all can hear me today. Shruti, you spoke a lot about what brought you to this journey of self-awareness. So I've also started my journey of self-awareness in the last year. And I've come to realize that there are a lot of things that you let go when you realize about yourself. But I would want to ask you, what are the 3 rules that you abide by, and you want to instill those 3 rules in your daughter, saying that you can do whatever you want, but these are the 3 things which are a complete no, and where you draw that line? Or there are no rules for her?
No, so there aren't really, the moment you say rules, again, instantly your ego stands up saying, why is someone telling me rules? So I think instead of using the word rule, I've always tried to, not just with my daughter, but even with myself, the understanding that you are responsible not for your emotions, but for your behavior. You shouldn't have to hide from how you're feeling. But what you do with that feeling is something that you have to be truly, truly aware of and responsible for. So I've tried to teach my daughter the meaning of consequence, because it's something that we don't think about enough. You can take whatever decision you want, but be ready for the consequence. Things may not turn out the way you want them to. You have to sit with it and make your peace with it, because you have had a very active part to play in those choices. Of course, barring things that are happening outside, at least your own behavior, the choices that you make, you have to be fully accepting of consequence. Another thing that I keep telling her to do is be immensely grateful, and I've seen it has really changed my life, just constantly being aware of the things that I have to say thank you for. So I'm always telling her to do that. And lastly, I'm actually teaching her to accept pain as a part of life. So, recently she had a stomach ache and she ended up with a little bit of a stomach infection. And I know that she was very, very, very troubled by it. And she would constantly tell me, okay, Mama, my tummy is hurting. I need to distract something. Give me something to distract myself. And I had to tell her that you can't keep running away from pain. You can't keep distracting yourself from pain. You have to learn how to go through it. Because because again, that's what we do, right? We find it so hard to sit with ourselves. It's the most difficult thing to do, is to just sit and see what your mind brings up. But I keep trying to tell her, you have to keep pushing your threshold for pain management, because it's a big part of life. It's going to keep coming. It's going to become more and more difficult. And sometimes the distractions may not work. So you have to be able to sit there and say, yes, this hurts, but it will pass. It's not forever. So
I think
these are the three things.
grief and pain, I think if we can teach them when they're young, I follow consequences, but pain is, I myself am not able to deal with it. So to tell them,
that's what capitalism and consumerism basically hinges on, right?
Yeah.
That's what it does. It's trying to distract you from pain, saying, come buy this and you won't feel pain, and do this and you won't feel pain. But the pain will persist, because that's again something that I've learned through emotional intelligence, is that what you try to suppress is going to keep persisting.
Absolutely.
And
I think it's beautiful. Like, if we can deal with our pain, if we can deal with our anger, and if we cannot be ashamed of it, I think battle is half won. There will not be any mental. If I'm angry with you, I'm okay to say I'm angry with you. I will not bear, or and even if you're saying that I'm my favorite, there is consequences of being my favorite.
Yeah.
Right? So
to be responsible for everything that I do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's beautiful. Very well answered. And I'm going to follow that pain. Let me go hit my daughter and give her pain and say, oh, you have to deal with it now.
Thanks for that question, Neha, and thank you for answering, Shruti. We have one last raised hand, and then we let Shruti go because it's been almost 1.5 hours. Simran, would you like to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, first of all, I would like to thank you for answering the question posted by me in the chat box. Like, it was very nice. Also, ma'am, as this question answer session started with a question related to your career, so like I would like to ask a question related to that only, if you permit me to.
Sure, go ahead.
Ma'am, as an actor, various actors and actresses have given interviews talking about their best performance and a performance which they are emotionally attached to. So I would like to know that what, according to you, has been your best performance, and a performance that you think I'm sorry to say, is there any performance that you regret doing, any role?
So the answer to the second question is an absolute no. I don't regret any role that I have done so far. In terms of my best performance, again, I can't tell you what the audience has preferred, but I think for me as an actor, the character that I played in Rajniti really, really shook me up and pushed me out of my comfort zone. So I would say that it has probably been my most challenging role so far, and extremely gratifying.
Yes, ma'am. I've watched all your movies, and it was a very nice role as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what better way to end the session by real-time live view from the Shiv Nadar University campus. Gopal sir, please put your camera on. We'd like to see the campus again, and like Shruti to visit us virtually. It's an excellent idea. We saw a glimpse of it.
We miss the campus a lot.
We miss the campus, of course. Gopal, oh yeah, Shruti, can you see our campus? Everybody else, all the students, staff, faculty who joined us from all over the world, have a look. That's our Central Vista, am I correct, boys and girls? And that's the beautiful view, absolutely picturesque. We have a 286-acre campus, sprawling greens, and more greenery than we have buildings. The campus is, also has a biodiversity park. It has a golf course, and what else? Everybody else, it has of course we have some campus faculty residency on campus as well.
Yes.
Don't forget the
We have a
turtle.
turtle called Pebbles.
Oh yes.
And Pebbles has junior Pebbles now. So
Really?
just junior Pebbles also joined. It was hatched after 6 months of taking care of the sand. Okay, so if I may, Shruti, thank you so much. I mean, I'm sure Vinnie will do the rest and all the people who are here, but it's been delightful listening to you. And while I did not know you before, this 1 hour makes me a fan, definitely. And Rajniti is not on your wiki entry, so maybe that's where I definitely remember seeing you. So it's wonderful to hear you, and your thoughts have been absolutely wonderful. I'm sure it gets the students here on the right thoughts around mental health and hopefully preventive mental health.
Yes,
and not
thank
get
you.
into a hole and then try to solve it. So thank you so much. It's been
Thank you.
delightful listening to you. And
Thank you
also
so much also for joining in. We are ever so grateful. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And thank you once again, Shruti. Such a pleasure having you, and such an engaging session. I'm sure the students have had their hearts full, of questions. But once again, thank you, Monica, for coming in. Thank you, Indu, Pankaj, the Blue Circle team, and all the other people who joined us. My own marketing team, Chetna, Ronit, Abhay, everybody. Thank you for joining and supporting us. And we have 2 more episodes next 2 Saturdays. So everyone do join in again. And thank you, Shruti. And we'd love to have you in person on campus to come and stay the night with your daughter and your husband. We have a wonderful faculty housing and a visitors lounge. Come and feel the freshness and the absolutely pollution-free environment in Greater Noida. So
thank you, Vinnie, and I hope I can come visit your campus and all the wonderful students. And this has just been such a delightful evening. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope I made sense. But let's all just keep pushing this conversation more and more so that we take away any stigma that is attached to mental health, and let's try and make it a part of our daily existence. And here's to everyone staying safe, staying loved, and staying happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye-bye.